What's going on? I've been playing the game after the patch. It's a completely new game now. Say goodbye to the old Battlefield. Say goodbye to your favorite weapons and how they worked. Especially assault rifles, they're very weak in comparison to how they used to be. They've added a drop-off range that's much closer, so that you're really limited to medium range. You can't compete very well with snipers and DMRs. And also, you really can't compete with the lower rate of fire weapons like the, the SAR-21, or let's say the L85, the AR-160, the A3, AUG A3, M416, AK-12. They've really boosted these weapons in comparison to what I call the competitive weapons, like the AEK, the SCAR, the Bulldog, the F2000, Ace-23. These were much more competitive weapons, and they took a lot of skill. Now it's not necessarily that they've removed the skill from them, they just aren't as good as they used to be. So you're going to find yourself losing a lot of fights even though you are able to control recoil, you're able to tap fire, you're a better player, but you're still going to lose at long range to quote-unquote new weapons now. So just like you've been airbursted since the beginning of time, well, guess what? They have a little bit more weapons now that can pull the same move on you, aka shotguns now. We won't talk about that one. But I'm going to try to focus on this video is attachments. That's where we can kind of learn and change the way we play. So let's hop into there. So on the grips, they've basically added a negativity to every single one of the grips. So any grip that you choose, you're losing something else. And before, it was more of you didn't gain what the other grip provided. So if you use the vertical grip, for example, you didn't gain what the stubby grip provided you. But now, when you use the vertical grip, you also it actually makes your spread recovery time longer, so you can't burst fire as fast as you could before. So once you have to be more precise and more specific on when you choose to fire. So it actually pays to be a little bit more patient now and to take a little bit more time. Essentially, it slows down the game because now you can't kind of get away with any grip and it's good at everything. Now you kind of have to be specific. You're going to have to choose how you're going to play, on which maps you prefer, the style, your particular style. If you are a high sensitivity player, you like to be very, very aggressive. For a player like that, for example, I would recommend them use a ergo grip or a vertical grip because it's going to allow you to strafe and make the opponents miss you, and so hopefully you can get more bullets into them before they kill you. But given you're not going to want to play in the back of the map because it's just not, the grip is not designed to be used that way. And so you got the stubby grip, which basically now it kind of does what it did similar before, but it's going to negatively affect your hip fire, and it's also negatively going to affect your spread recovery. Just about every attachment affects your spread recovery. You're going to hear me referring to that a lot now because that is the main issue I have with all these attachments. What made good players good was the fact that they knew how to tap fire properly. They knew the right amount of bullets to fire in a given burst to be accurate at a given range. For example, the AEK with a heavy barrel, which used to be one of my most favorite guns to use, you could put a heavy barrel on and you could do a 3-shot burst. If you micropaused in between these 3-shot bursts and you were able to control recoil at very long range, you could dominate people. You would beat the low rate of fire weapons and have a chance, because you were so skilled. You can control the recoil and you could also control the timing of your burst, which I think is a real shame. But anyways, I now run most of my guns naked. I don't use heavy barrels anymore for 2 reasons. The first reason is the drop-off range for damage. So the heavy barrel basically really starts to shine after a certain range because you're more accurate, right? So without a heavy barrel, you would have to basically single shot at a really long range. You couldn't fully auto. You couldn't do 3-shot bursts or so. But now with the damage drop off, you really want to change the way you engage people. You don't want to be trying to engage people at a very long range because it's just you're not gonna win. You can't win. You can't win no matter what you really do. If you put a heavy barrel on and they have a DMR or a sniper or a SAR-21, for example, you can't win because it's going to outdamage you because it doesn't have the same damage drop off as your gun does. So change the way you play. You're going to have to play more mid-range. I think what they've tried to do with this is good, but I don't like. I mean, I like the balance aspect of it, but I don't like the skill aspect. I don't like how they removed the skill that it took me. I put over 13 hours in this game, and I can say, as a matter of fact, that I was very, very good at controlling recoil at very long range, and that's what made me a very versatile player. I could really in any situation I could do well, and now I can't really do that. So I think there's going to be a lot of players that are going to feel the same way as me. So in the grips, like I said before, the spread recovery time is now longer, and so I'd rather be still, choose my engagements, play a little bit slower than I used to. I can't play as aggressive now because, as another bug you'll see in a second, I'm going to show you. You're really going to want to try to know where people are, play slower, put yourself into a more defensive position, and not rush as much because you'll see that you're much more accurate if you put yourself in a defensive position. So anyways, let's hop into the test range. I'm going to show you a bug/balance they tried to put in the game. And I probably should use a more higher rate of fire weapon, but I guess this will do. But the bug is basically if you're moving, right? I say I'm moving, and the target right here where I'm aiming, say that's an enemy. I'm moving, and I see him all of a sudden. I'm moving, and then I immediately try to snap over to him. If I'm going from ADS to from hipfire to ADS, I'm going to be all over the place inaccurate. Basically, I have hipfire inaccuracy, even though I have finished my ADS animation. So what they've done now, basically, is they've penalized you for being aggressive and being very fast at going from hipfire to ADS. So really, what you're going to have to do now is you're going to have to play slower. Don't be running out in the open and depending on your twitch aim to get on target. You're going to now play much slower, much more campy, and peek your corner slowly and stay in ADS and wait for the enemy to appear. So basically, the person who plays the most defensively will win now. If you find yourself raging a lot because you're like, I was perfectly accurate, I saw all my bullets going towards the guy, but I was getting hardly any hit marks, it's because of this bug here. And there's many, I don't know, I wouldn't say many, but there's a few videos out there explaining this, maybe in a little bit more detail. But yeah, you're really gonna have to be smarter. That's the end all, I think, a solution to all these changes is you're going to have to be smarter. Pick your engagements, pick your weapon for the range that you're going to be playing at. The low fire rate of low fire weapons are going to be a lot better now. You can be successful with them. You can beat SCARs and Ace 23s. You can beat good players while having these easier to use weapons. But yeah, anyways guys, I hope this helps you. Sorry if I've rambled a little bit. There's a lot to talk about. But until next time, take it easy.